I learned the last couple of years, like, I love to teach other people. I teach my clients every day, but when I see my students, when I'm teaching courses and it clicks for them, like, that is the, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing moment. Like, I love what I do, and that's shows me right there. It pays me back 100% when I see it just click for my students, and it's like,
Today on the We Share podcast, we're joined by Lisa Morton, personal trainer at Club Apple, highly certified stop Pilates instructor, and a former Dallas Cowboys cheerleader. Welcome to the We Share podcast. I'm Julie.
I'm Alex.
We share ourselves and we provide a platform for others to share.
We believe everyone has a purpose and a story to tell.
And we're back on the We Share podcast. I'm Julie.
And I'm Alex.
And we have a great guest that's so appropriate for January.
Oh, yes, to welcome in our Wellness Month. We've got Lisa Morton here from Club Apple. She's a personal trainer, a Pilates instructor, a wife, a mother, former Dallas Cowboys cheerleader. Woohoo! Rah, rah. So welcome, Lisa.
thank you for having me, ladies.
Yeah,
Okay,
we're
first
so
off, I have
excited
to
to have
ask,
you.
how many years were you a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader?
For 5 seasons.
5 seasons.
Yes.
A lot of players don't make it that long.
That's amazing. I know we're going to talk wellness, but I
know.
can't not ask the question.
Well, that
how
is
was it?
wellness.
Yeah.
I mean, it's stars and stripes, baby.
Yeah. How was that?
It was quite the experience. I did it right, probably my 3rd year of college, and did it the next 3 years and then plus 2 years after that as well. So I was, 20 when I auditioned and made it for the first time, and which is very hard to do these days too. If anybody's ever seen the reality TV shows that are out there, it is what it is. It's just like that on TV, and it's not easy to be a part of that team.
Do you have to try out every year?
Every single year. So the veterans get a bye into finals, but you have to fight for your spot back. And there's at least one veteran that doesn't make it back every year. There's 20 plus years I've been involved in that organization. There's always been at least one veteran that gets cut at tryouts.
Oh, tears.
Yeah.
That's tough.
And it's so hard to see when you're good friends too. Like you're standing there just like
Right,
they show
they're
on the
your
show, and
sisters.
they're calling numbers and names, and then you're looking at them, they're looking at you, and they say one name left, and you're like, uh-oh, it's the end of the road for them.
Somebody's
So
going.
you did
Yeah.
college in Texas then?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
I grew up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So I was born in California, moved to Texas when I was 3, and then did the whole high school drill team scene in Texas and high school football. If you know anything about Texas football.
Oh,
it's
there's so much.
Exactly.
So which Texas college did you go to?
So
I
I went to
bowl games.
Yes, I went to an East Texas college first, junior college, and I did 2 years of a drill team there in Tyler Junior College. And then I knew I was going to go try out for Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders after that, whether I made it or not. I was going back to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, so I graduated from the University of North Texas. That's in Denton. So
Okay, that's so awesome and exciting.
What was the most beneficial thing you learned from being a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader for 5 seasons?
probably like the personality skills. Like I'm pretty much more of an introvert. So it made me really get out of my comfort zone, and being on appearances, you had to be presentable and on and like happy to see everybody. It doesn't matter what kind of day you had, you were on for those 2 to 4 hours, depending on the appearance. And the kids were really the like highlight of my career, and the kids and probably the veterans would be, I would say, the highlight, because the kids, they look up to you, they see you in your uniform, and the little girls were like, I just want to be like you when I grow up. And I never really thought of the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders that way when I was a cheerleader or when I was growing up. And in fact, when I was in high school, we did competitions with them. They hosted a competition. So my dance team went every fall and we competed, and we won grand champion, I think 3 of the 4 years I was in high school. So I kind of had a good relationship with the organization on that. And then we were always invited to perform at a halftime or Christmas or Thanksgiving halftime as well with the cheerleaders. So that kind of established my foot in the door a little bit with them. And then my senior year, I was actually recruited by their recruiter. We had won the competition that year, and we were doing Thanksgiving halftime, and it's always nationally televised. So that was with
It's
Clint.
a big game. I've actually been to a
Have
Thanksgiving
you?
game there.
Yes. So that was with Clint Black, the country singer. So we were preparing for that. And I can remember my recruiter coming up to me and asking me when I turned 18. I thought that was a really weird question, because I was a senior in high school, and I was like, February. She's like, okay, good. And I'm like, well, why are you asking me that? And she said, well, I want you to audition for Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders. And I'm like, okay. I never really had thought about that. So of course I went home and told my parents. My dad's like, you're doing it. And I'm like, that's not what I really want to do though. But he's like, you're going to do it. And I was like, okay. Well, then I got to meet a cheerleader that I worked closely with my senior year of high school too. And she kind of helped encourage me to go to college, go experience that a little bit. And then when you're done with that, then audition, which I'm glad I did, because I did get to go to my 2-year college and do drill team with a freshman, sophomore team, and then kind of figure out, do I want to wait till I graduate or do it now? So I then auditioned at the end of my sophomore year of college, and because I still knew some of the girls that were current cheerleaders. So I was like, well, that's kind of my shoe in a little bit there. I know some people and know how to get involved in that organization. So back to your question, with the children obviously looking up to you, and then just seeing some of the veterans. I think all of us have these experiences that you'll never forget, but we were doing our annual nursing home visits, and we actually went down to a VA hospital down in Waco, and this gentleman was blind, and I was talking to, and he asked me, well, what does your uniform look like? So I had to describe it to him, and I never had that question before,
yeah.
And so, we were wearing one of our more modest uniforms, not the actual uniform you see on TV or everything. But so I was explaining it to him, and like how the crystals were on the stars and how our boots were and everything. And so that was a really neat experience to be able to relate with somebody on that level.
You were his eyes for a moment.
Yeah. Exactly. And then, he got to tell me everything that he saw in his eyes when he could still see when he was in combat. So it was a memory I'll always keep in my heart tucked away. So
yeah. We talked a little bit beforehand. I told you my daughter was involved in this a little bit, and I don't think people understand how much community work you do, even because my daughter was a college dancer.
Absolutely, yeah.
So much community work, always going out, and you're right, you always have to be on.
And we
You're
are
a public figure. So.
Exactly, ambassadors for the football organization as well. That's one thing people don't realize is that's why we have the interview. When we have to audition, they sit down and interview us, because can you sit next to these dignitaries at these USO galas and be able to carry a conversation, or are you going to go hide in the corner and fumble over your words? You've seen the interviews of the girls getting asked football knowledge and current events. You have to know what's going on to be able to carry a conversation. They don't want somebody that doesn't have a clue on what's going on or can't tell you who their favorite player is or what position so-and-so plays, and because
you're going to get asked those questions.
Yeah. And there's even times when we would be at rehearsals when Kelly and Judy would come in and the directors and choreographer of the team say, okay, what is going on in wherever today? What's a major headline that you read in the news? And we'd have to stand up and tell the whole team what we knew and what we had learned about in the news.
Yeah.
So
I'm having a little PTSD over here because I'm remembering
I guess I should have warned you. I'm bringing in a famous person today.
Yeah. Okay. So this naturally, for me at least, leads to, how did you end up in Idaho?
Right. So when I was in my 4th year of cheering, I kind of always grew up with drag racing. My dad took me to races. I did a little bit here and there when I got my driver's license. And when I was a little girl, I became a John Force fan. And if anybody doesn't know who that is, he's a funny car driver, and he's like the most popular, famous, the winniest funny car driver there is in the world. And I can remember my dad watching something on TV Saturday morning, and he was in the pool with his daughters, with his 3 girls. He had 3 girls. That's all he had. A guy that was so masculine that went 300 miles an hour and a quarter mile, like with hair on fire, everything. He had these little girls, and they were about my age. And so I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. They do that with their dad. I did that with my dad. So my dad and I would go to the national event every year when they'd come to Dallas. And we hadn't been in a while. And I was in my, like I said, 4th year of cheering. My dad said, let's go to the race. Let's go do this. And he's like, by the way, can you get an autograph cheerleader swimsuit calendar for John Force? I'm like, sure, I'll see what I can do. Had all the girls autograph this calendar. So I go to the races. I'm standing there in the pits, and I'm just like, waiting my turn or whatever. And so I hand him this 16 by 16 swimsuit calendar, and he's sitting there signing autographs, and he looks at it and he's like, and I'm like, no, this is for you. Because he was like, do you want me to sign this? I'm like, no, this is for you. It's personalized to you. And so he kind of took a second, looked at it, and he's like, well, come back later. I'll hook you up with some merchandise. So my dad and I'm like, okay, we're going to hang out with John Force. And long story short, we got in the pit area. We saw the guys working. My now husband was a crew guy on the team, kind of got to know him a little bit. We became friends for a little while, and then started dating in 2005. And he was from Idaho Falls, born and raised here. He graduated from Bonneville, and I'd never been to Idaho, and I came up here one time with him during Thanksgiving break and kind of looked around, and there was still the opportunity of him still working on the race team and not quitting that. So we did long distance for almost 2 years, and the opportunity came home for him to work with his dad and run his dad's business with him. And I knew I was done cheering, so I either was going to move to Indiana with him to continue doing the racing thing, or we were going to come to Idaho. So it ended up being Idaho, and we moved up here in 2007, right out, like literally I turned in my uniform, helped with the new team, and was like gone that next weekend and moved up to Idaho. And Kelly Finglass really tried to encourage me not to do that. She was like, don't follow a guy. Like, there's an opportunity for you here. And I was like,
because I'm sure you had networked a ton in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Yeah, exactly. And I was working for the cheerleader organization too at the time. And I don't know what that opportunity, it's always one of those things like, what if I would have stayed there? Like, I know I wouldn't be in Idaho. I probably wouldn't be married to my husband because he wasn't going to be moving to Dallas. So, but it is what it is. And I think everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, for sure.
Here I am.
And she's saying that even with snow on the ground.
Yeah, I know. It's 20 something degrees outside.
So when did you transition to Pilates?
So
and personal training?
Going back to my college, I got a degree in kinesiology. Okay. That's the science of movement and how the body moves. More people know that term now. My minor was in health promotion. And I was at first a dance major, and then when I transferred to North Texas, my credits all didn't clear over. So I was like either going to spend another 4 years in college or get the easy way out. And so a lot of my friends were doing kinesiology, and I'm like, well, I don't have to have a foreign language for that. So that sounds good. Let's do it. And I had a lot of PE credits already. So graduated with that. Didn't really ever think I was going to use it. When I moved up here, I started looking for jobs, and the personal training director at the Club Apple, he called me up and said, I received your resume, but you don't have any experience, and I really think you should get a certification. And I was like, well, I don't want to do that right now. Don't want to do that. So
is this Robbie?
Yes. Yes. So kind of let that go. And then I was actually working at this radio station where we're recording right now, and I got a phone call from the front desk manager, and he's like, hey, I saw your resume. I called you before, and I never called him back. And so I was like, I called you. We're looking for people to fill these spots. And I was like, okay, I'll come interview. And it was right around middle of February when I got interviewed and did like a whole group interview. And of course, you have to go around the table and say what you've done, who you are. And of course, I would say, I'm a former Dallas Cowboys cheerleader. And everybody was like, like, what? And why are you here? And so that's where I started my kind of fitness journeys. I started working at Club Apple at the front desk, and then met with Robbie again. And he's like, I've got a position for you here. Let's see how it transitions. So I did personal training for probably 4 years, just that only being out on the floor, helping people with their weight loss goals. And then got an opportunity to try Pilates. And, you have a background in dance. It'd be great for you to try it and see how it goes. So I did that and then just fell in love with that. So in 2012, I started my first reformer and mat course that year and got trained to teach clients, and then just kind of snowballed forward. And the last, since 2019, so last 5-6 years, I've just really progressed into the industry and increased my certifications and really just reached for the stars and gone forth with it.
So explain that, because there are differences in the...
Because I was going to say that Club Apple is so lucky to have you.
Yes.
Yeah. So explain those levels.
Yes. So I did my beginning training with Mat Reformer first, and then I just started taking on classes, taking clients, and then to become fully certified as a Stop Pilates instructor. So that's the method that we teach at Club Pilates. Stop Pilates is based off the original contemporary method of Joseph Pilates, but it has more modifications. It's more anatomy based, so it's evolved over the years. So if you ever see any old videos of Joseph Pilates, he's like the guy in the little tighty whities with no shirt on and like pushing people over. Ours is a more gentle approach. We modify things based off the original method, but it's evolved and kind of more contemporary, like I said. And as you go through the layers of that, I did Cadillac, chair, barrels. Those are the other apparatuses that we train on too. And then I was just kind of like, okay, well, now what? What am I going to do? I'm fully trained. So why not get fully certified, which I did a mat reformer certification first. So, which the certification is not easy. It's like auditioning all over for the Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders. You have a written exam that you have to do as well as a practical. And the practical, you are given a body, somebody that you've never worked with before. There's a proctor in the room as well. That's an instructor trainer. And you have a certain number of exercises for each apparatus that you have to teach this client. Before you do that, you have to give them a posture analysis, figure out where their weaknesses are, program specifically for that posture, and that's what your practical is. So it's a lot of trial and error of like, I'm going to have a rough draft of what I'm going to do, but my body might not even be able to do that. So you have to be able to kind of think on your toes really quickly. So got certified in mat reformer, and that was 2017, and then did the rest of the training for the apparatuses, and then did my full certification in 2019, right before COVID. So that's a huge feat too, because at the time when I got fully certified, there was one other fully certified instructor in the state of Idaho. And you have to keep up on your CECs every year too to keep that status as well. So
it's a lot of money, guys.
It's a lot of money.
We've talked about it before just a little bit on certifications, because I finally let mine lapse, because after 20 plus years, you get certified in so many things that you're just like, hey,
what am I going to do?
I'm not using it anymore.
Exactly.
I'm doing it more just for personal.
So with that, like, again, it was like, okay, now what? And obviously I have a drive in me because I've done all the things I've done. So it finally was like, okay, what's the next level? So then I applied to become an instructor trainer for Marathon. And Marathon is the parent company of Stop Pilates. And that was another process of applying, submitting like a plan of attack of what you want to do. And then I had a live audition on Zoom. You used to have to record that. Now everything's on Zoom thanks to
COVID,
Yes. And so I had clients come in and sit down. I thankfully knew what I was going to do. I could plan that out. I had a certain number of exercises that I had to teach from a list that they wanted to see you teach. And then you had to make corrections with these people while somebody's sitting there on Zoom, just tapping away on the keyboard, making notes. And then when that hour was done, they left, and then I had to do an audition myself of demonstrating exercises and explaining things. And so then I had about a 45-minute live feedback after that, and then the waiting period of whether or not you got accepted or not. So then I finally got the call. I got accepted. I went to Toronto for a week in June of 2023, spent a week there with 7 other instructor trainer candidates that we were going through this process together from all over the world. So Marathon is an international company. There were 4 of us from the States, 2 from Canada, 1 from London, and 1 from Australia. And this was their first in-person training since COVID too. So we had an awesome group of instructor trainers. Like, we still talk daily on WhatsApp and, keep in touch with each other. So whenever we have a question of like, hey, what was this that we did here? We can always reach out and see each other answers and get some input. And then, part of that also, before I could be cleared to be an instructor trainer, was co-teaching. So I also had to go back to Toronto for 2 weeks in November last year, or 23, and we're in 25 now, and do my co-teaching with another certified instructor trainer, lead instructor trainer there. And then I did my mat course in Omaha last summer. So now I'm cleared to teach and hold courses here. And
yeah, like I said, Club
That's a lot.
Apple is
I know.
so
She's
lucky
the only
to have
one in
her.
Idaho.
yes,
right?
Yeah.
Yep, I am the only instructor trainer for Marathon in the state of Idaho. And there's only like maybe 300 in the world, if my numbers are right.
Wow. I also want to highlight how that increases the amount of safety doing these courses.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to just show up somewhere and do something and have nobody there that understands the human body and understands the levels that you've got the knowledge base of. Now you're an expert. I mean, that's what you are. And
I know I laugh and joke because, again, the money that I've invested in this the last 13 years, I have a master's in Pilates. That's what I kind of tell
You
people.
do, or a
Like,
PhD, I do say.
okay, I'll go with that.
Yeah, it's so true. Okay, so explain Pilates to people, because, they might be listening and going, well, she was a dancer. Of course, that's an awesome fit for her. But it's not just dancers who do Pilates.
Absolutely. So, the thing with Pilates, especially nowadays, it's getting a lot of traction on social media. There's really no regulating on what is Pilates versus what is not Pilates. Most people, when they think Pilates, they think, stretching, moving through the body on the mat. But it's so much more
And
to
then
like
using the breath.
Yes. So everybody, like the fancy stuff that you see on social media right now is on the reformer. That's the machine that moves in and out. So it's a machine that's based on spring tension. So you're adding or taking off springs to increase or decrease the resistance. Just because you're adding springs on doesn't make it harder. Just because you're making it lighter doesn't make it easier. It depends on what you're doing. But it's so much more about like that mind-body connection. So that's the big trend in fitness right now. So if you kind of look back at like the 2000s, that was the boot camp. Everybody was doing, counting reps in boot camp. The 2010s was more about kind of like getting back into the high energy HIIT training and CrossFit. So now, and I've even seen this study too at a convention that I attended. Now the 2020s are more looking at, the mind body, the self-care. So really taking time to go inward and really understand, what are you feeling in your body? So with Spot Pilates, we do 6 principles that we base all of our workouts on. So the first one is, like you said, the breathing. So really understand like the mind-body connection with the breath, the 3-dimensional breath, really breathing diaphragmatically, not just into your belly like most of us do. And then really understanding how the muscles incorporate in the breathing too. Then we have the pelvic placement. Where is your pelvis? Are you in a neutral or imprint? Those are the terms that we use. We have our rib cage placement. Again, making sure everything's staying in alignment. It's a lot of precision too, and it's a practice that you continue to do that you might not like completely excel at, but you get better with practice. We have scapular movement and stability. We have head and cervical placement, and then we have lower body movement and stability. So all those things adding together to really understand how your body's working, what you're trying to recruit to move the body, and then making yourself feel better too. Like the 5-second speech that I tell people if they don't know what Pilates is, it's going to strengthen you from the inside out. So the muscles that you see in the mirror, that's what you do out in the gym. The muscles you don't see, that's what you focus on in Pilates.
Mm-hmm. Which makes it so you can build the muscles out in the gym.
Exactly.
Right. Well, and longevity of it.
Not get injured. Exactly.
That's what I would say my favorite takeaway from taking your Pilates classes and just doing Pilates over the years is the alignment and the balance I find in my body, like restored. Like I'm like, oh, I just feel better.
Yeah. I always know when my core is weak because my RDLs hurt. I like the deadlifts. I'm like, oh, I'm using my back.
Feel your lower back.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
And so I know, okay, I've got to work on my core because these shouldn't be hurting with this amount of weight that I'm doing. So yeah, it's figuring out your body and knowing you need those muscles on the inside to get that cute little round butt on the outside.
Yes. The Pilates body, like I think Miley Cyrus kind of made that popular, and she was just on the Golden Globes last night too of, like she says, all I do is Pilates. There's definitely a look to it that you get from it because especially exactly with the reformer, and even if you're on the Cadillac, anything with the spring tension, we can't really tell you exactly how much weight that is because every spring's a little bit different, but because you're creating tension one way, you have to control the tension back. So it's just like a slingshot. If you let go, it's going to fire back, but we teach you how to control. So again, it's a sense of control, precision, alignment, just really understanding how to put the body in the correct position so that you're not compensating and using your strong side versus your weak side. It helps kind of balance everything out.
Right. Okay, so we're in January.
Yeah.
Lots of people are making health goals right now.
Yes.
What's your advice to them? I'm sure it depends on the person, but overall in January, what would you say to people who are making health goals?
Of course, we've got everybody with the New Year's resolutions. I really don't like that idea because what happens usually with the resolution? You make it and then you hopefully do it and then you stop doing it. Well, then what happens?
You break it.
Yeah, the bad habits. Yeah. So like my advice for that would be like, have a goal you can attain. Don't be like, I'm going to do this so I can do that. And it's not even achievable. Like start small. And then just take a little nibble at a time. Once you hit a certain spot, I did it for a week straight, or I did it 2 days in a row. Like start small, then work your way up. And then, it takes 60 days to create a habit. It takes twice as long to break it. So if you're not a morning person, are you going to try to start getting up earlier in the morning just to get it? I have to do that. I am not a morning person. So I have to literally like last night, I will give you truth. I looked to see how long my workout was going to be today. It was going to be 45 minutes. I'm like, okay, what's the last minute I can be in bed before I get up, do that workout, and then I have to go get my kids up and get them ready for school. So like I timed that out perfectly. 6:45, my son wanted to get up. I was done by 6:45. He was up and we were out the door at 7:40 to get to school and then to work and then have a full day of clients and then come talk to you ladies.
Yeah.
So if I don't do it in the morning, if you ever try to work out at night, I think it's so much harder depending on what you do for work.
So much harder.
You know, you're dragging, you're lagging, you're making every excuse of, oh, I don't need to go to the gym. I'm so tired. And, you know, like start and get it over with in the morning. Like start your day out right. And because then it just kind of projects the rest of your day. I know personally too, when I don't get my workout first thing in the morning, it's looming. And then I'm like, oh, I got to work out later. And my energy with clients is not as great
It's
either.
lower too, yeah.
I'm like yawning. I'm tired. I'm like, oh, I need a nap. No, I don't. I just need to move my body.
I think Julie and I we're both morning workouters.
Oh, I so prefer to work out in the morning.
Yeah.
I haven't the last year because I've had pericarditis from, they think, COVID or an autoimmune or whatever. So I have started to do it at night just to protect my sleep more. It's twice as hard. It is twice as hard to get the workouts.
Yeah, because once you get home, I know for me, Mondays, I don't go in the morning because it's usually more crowded at the gym.
Hello, you should have seen it wasn't even January 1st yet. Last Monday was crazy.
And so I know Mondays and I'm a time person like you. Like I don't want to talk to people. I want to get my workout in and I've got this
much time. Exactly.
And so I home workout on Monday, but then Monday evenings, I go do that yoga class like at 7:30. A stretch one. And it is hard to even get that. I almost back off all the time, but I'm like, no, my body needs that. So I rotate the things I do, but
that's another thing too. I would recommend it variety because if you get to where you're doing the same thing over and over and over again, you're going to get bored. You know, another thing, of course, I'm a personal trainer. I highly recommend get a personal trainer, not necessarily for accountability, but for doing things correctly. I mean, if you talk to I have probably about 85% of my clientele is over the age of 65. All of them invest in personal training and value it. Like they understand why having a trainer or somebody just to guide you is so important because you're getting the correction, you're getting the feedback. I know me personally, I work out alone. I wish I always say, anybody know a good Pilates instructor? Because I really need one because I need one for myself.
Then they're looking at the way you're holding your body.
Yeah, because I mean, I can feel it in my own body, but as an instructor trainer too, I have to demonstrate the exercises when I'm teaching courses. So I'm like, of course, I want to look right doing it. So, you know, we all have our little things habits or, you know, compensations that we have. And I know my body's not perfect and it's not symmetrical. So trying to work through those, hire a trainer, somebody that can watch you and teach you.
I go through periods where I'm like, okay, it's time. I need help.
Some help.
Yeah. And I will this is going to be a Steve Vukovich shout out there here. One of the things I heard him in an interview one time is like, it's just like skiing. You're not going to go get on the mountain, go just down the mountain because you've never done it before. You're going to take lessons and get better at it. It's just like going to the gym. You know, you want to get better at it and not hurt yourself because 90% of the people that are going to fall off here in 6 weeks have either gone too hard, they're really sore, they can't move anymore, or they've done something and tweaked something.
Right, they got an injury.
Yeah. So take the investment, and even if it's just a couple, 4, 5, 10 sessions, whatever, take the investment and do it.
And I know they do offer, like, I mean, if you're not already a member, but when you join, there's a bunch of bundles and stuff that come with that because they do value that.
Absolutely.
Well, they want you to be engaged. They want you to do it correctly.
Yeah.
I would also say, I mean, I've worked out my whole life. Machines still scare me.
Really?
They do.
Machines?
Yeah, like over with the big guys and everything. I'm like, just let me do my free weights.
Oh, like the weight machines.
The weight machines.
So you're just more of the free weight.
I'm a free weight girl because I've studied and learned. But if I was going to really dive in the machines, I'm never doing that without somebody helping me and doing it appropriately because you can hurt yourself on those just as easily as you can with the free weights.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I would totally back that up. I mean, as somebody who's, I feel like in really great shape and physically in a good place, I'm still intimidated by the machines. It's not,
I can see that.
There's not it's all, trainers are only for people that are 40 pounds overweight or 60. That's not how it works.
No, absolutely.
It's a knowledge thing.
Well, and it's, like you said, it's just like taking lessons, you know, and I mean, yes, it's an investment, but it's an investment in yourself too. That's the other thing too. Like, you know, with this whole self-care movement, like, you know, so many women are more like, oh, well, I'm a mom, I have all my kids. I'm like, well, no, it's okay for you to take some time out of your busy schedule to take time for yourself. You have to, or you're going to lose your mind. You know,
and you'll show up better for your kids,
exactly.
For your husband.
It's funny, you know, like at Mother's Day, the kids will like, my mom's favorite thing to do is, or my mom's hobby is both my kids like working out. And I'm like, that's not really my hobby. I do it because I need to do it. Like I'm a
You
have
like
to.
it, and it's your job.
It's I still have a love-hate relationship with it, but I'm to the point now, like if I don't do it, I'm like, I got to do it, And I was one of those always things that like, oh, I got to work out today. But now it's like, okay, like I know I feel better and I'm going to be present better when I have done my workout.
It's also such a mental game, like what you're talking about. So a trainer helps you with that because you have an accountability partner.
Exactly. That's the toughest thing too, especially if you're not setting a time to do it and you're like, oh, I'll get to it when I get to it. If you know that you have an appointment at that time, they're paid by the minute. So you're not going to miss out on that minute. And
they're getting paid whether you come or not.
Exactly. Whether you come or not. Exactly. So
yeah.
Do it.
Okay. So if someone is new to the gym, you would recommend Pilates. It's a good place to start.
Absolutely. So Pilates also is low impact. So you're not going to get that jarring on your joints. It takes a minute to kind of get everything involved, especially if you're really not so in tune with your body. So that's, again, if you've never really like focused inward and like really understand like where your foot is right now, just sitting here. Well, now think about that. Now you're thinking about where your foot is. Is it in the proper alignment? Well, if that's the furthest thing from your brain. So a lot of times I'll be cueing a foot for somebody and they're like, what do you want me to do with my foot? I'm like, point your toe. I have toes? Oh yeah. It's like that whole, it takes a while.
What is the point?
Yeah. It takes a while for the brain mind body connection to start working, but it's low impact. You kind of move at your own pace. Of course we've got all different levels of clients in our Pilates department right now, all over the realm, on the personal training realm too, of ages. I just worked with a 17-year-old today that wants to sign up for training. And I was like, you have to go have your mom sign this. Sorry. And she's like, I'm an adult. I'm like, no, you're not 18 yet. So sorry, you have to
Rules
go.
in Idaho.
Exactly. We're going to keep our liability safe here. Yeah. But I mean, I will say, the most people that do personal training are the boomers because they can invest in that. Mm-hmm. And so it's one of those things to look at what you're spending your money on. If you're going to Starbucks 2 times, 3 times, 5 times a week, that's a training session a week. Like really look at what you're spending your time and your money on. Because if you really want to have longevity and feel good when you're postmenopausal, if you're a woman, or in your 50s as a male, like you got to start now, like not when you're that age. Like I can remember teaching some gals. I went to Mexico for a Passover event and I was working with these wealthy young women from New York City, and they all wanted to work with their butt and their glutes and their core, butt and core. That's what they wanted to work on. I'm like, well, what about your arms? Don't you want to look like that lady right there? Well, yeah. And I'm like, well, you have to start when you're 20, not when you're 50. Like you have to start now. So really understanding what's out there, what's available for you, and just getting going and got to start somewhere, one foot in front of the other.
I love it.
Are you comfortable? We can cut this out if we need to, but are you comfortable sharing what a training session costs, like a range?
I can give you a range. So at Club Apple, if you're a member, all new members especially get 2 complimentary sessions. So you can take those sessions and kind of sit down with a trainer and say, this is what my goals are. This is what I want to do. If you want to do a body composition fitness evaluation, we can also do that during that time. We take you out on the floor. We show you the equipment. It's tailored to you. That's what personal training is. It's tailored to what your goals are. We're not just going to throw you out and be like, you should do this. Well, I don't want to do that. We're not going to make you do that. At least I won't. With our personal training rates at the club, it's going to be anywhere from $55 a session to $100 a session, depending on the level of trainer. Obviously, the higher level, you're going to have more experience, more training, more certification, more knowledge. The entry level is going to be those instructors that have, or trainers that have just gotten out of college or just gotten certified, maybe not as much experience. So we have it all over the realm there. So you could definitely start low or shoot for the stars.
Mm-hmm. And ask for it for a gift. It would be great for if you looked at your husband or your partner and said, I want 4 training sessions. That's what I want you to buy me. Don't buy me flowers. Don't buy,
Yeah, exactly. I have clients that do that.
I would ask for 12. To start.
12 is a good number. Yeah, 12 is a good number. If you do 2 times a week, that's 6 weeks. If you do once a week, it's 12 weeks. I have clients that tell their husband, like, I don't need Mother's Day. I don't need Valentine's Day. I don't need my birthday. This is what I want. I'm investing in myself, invest in me so I can be a better person for you. So that's what they continue to give each other is training for.
Well, like anything, you really need several months to actually see a result. If you just get like a couple or 4, it's 1 month and then.
Well, and the other thing too, if personal training one-on-one is not in your budget. We have so many group
Group
opportunities too. So we've got, the free classes too that come with your membership, but we have small group training that you can do so you can split the cost with a friend or 2 or 3. We have our women's only weight loss program. So if that's something you're interested in, we have that comes down to like $18 or $19 a session for 16 sessions. Our small group Pilates sessions, we can take up to 10 people in those classes. So that can be around $20 per session. So definitely have some different opportunities to
make
really,
it affordable.
Exactly.
That's so great because that really is a range. It makes it possible for people.
Yeah, we have our Fitwell classes that are like $10 a class. We have our Express classes that are around $12 a class. So, I mean, there's definitely some guided group classes that you can take that are going to be a little bit more of that investment, but you're still getting that smaller group, that individualized attention versus going to a group fitness class where you're following the instructor and they might throw out a cue, but you're like, is that for me? Or it's not hands-on as much as our personal training.
Think it is harder to dive into group if you haven't already been a fit person, like going to the gym.
It's intimidating too.
Yeah, because wait, everyone knows these high fitness moves and I don't.
Yeah. Yep. Let me also offer a personal endorsement here. I've had a membership at Apple for a length of years, and I think some people can be very intimidated by going to like Club Apple. You're like, look at
me. It's a big place.
Yeah. And I would not say that at all. I have always felt comfortable there. Staff was great. I felt like I had the options that I needed and everything that I was doing. So that's my own personal endorsement. I'm sure Alex would say the same thing.
I love it. I mean, there's everything.
For the ladies listening, if you're intimidated, there's a women's only area too. That is your own quiet
I've
little.
used that before.
Yeah.
Days when I didn't feel so great. And I'm like, I just need a smaller, quieter place. The women's only is a wonderful option there.
And you've got cardio equipment there. They've got stair mills in there now.
Free weights.
At all. Yeah. Cables. It's
it's great.
And for the little town that we were in Idaho Falls, like we are so lucky to have that huge place. And a lot of people don't even know it's there. I mean, I still hear people like, where's Apple? And I tell them, like, I had no idea this was here. It's kind of tucked away, but we're very lucky to have what we have, and our investors in our organization have spent a lot of money. We just got brand new weight training equipment last November. I guess it's been a year now, almost 14 months ago. So
they did a refresh.
Yep. And then
great. The outdoor facility is great in the summer.
We've got a pool, and we've got an outdoor workout area too. And we are expanding. That is on the slate for the next 5 probably years. It's going to be phases. So they are looking to expand the footprint of that place and offer more than we have right now.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Well, we end every podcast with allowing our guest for the day to just kind of give us some life advice or their little nugget of what would you like to share with the We Share audience?
Make me think about this one.
I know, and it can be personal. It can be, because we didn't really dive into how you juggle being a mom and this career, because you do work a lot.
I do. I work full time. I'm actually pretty lucky at the gym. My hours are set from like 9 to 5. So I'm not the 6 a.m. I did that when I first started working there. Worked from like 6 to 2. And then when I had children, I was able to still be present for my kids, get them to school. Thankfully, I've got my in-laws that are a very supportive system to help me with them after school. But I would say one of the things that I've kind of really embraced the last few years is like, if you have a goal, go out and get it. Of course, share it with your spouse, share it with your family, make sure that they're included, but it's okay to be selfish. It's okay to take care of yourself. It's okay to have that self-care. It's okay to, if you've always wanted to do one thing, like sit down, really think about it and work with your family and see how your dynamic is with your family and go for it, because you don't want to have regret. You don't want to be like, oh, what if I wish I would have done this, or what if I would have done it this way, or like, go for it. They'll forgive you, right? If you fall down, if it doesn't work, they're the most supportive people in your party there. Like,
right, but at
be,
least you tried, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, don't be afraid to, go for it. And I feel like a lot of the women that I work with, they kind of have a little bit of a hang up of, oh, my spouse doesn't want me to do that. Well, it's like, you got to be happy to.
Like guilt.
Exactly.
For doing something for themselves.
Apologize later. How about that?
Right. Well, and
ask
then
for forgiveness afterwards.
There's so much to be learned from watching someone go after those things. It will teach your kids invaluable lessons. They learn more. I've always said this, like, I harped on so many things with my kids. I was a pretty on top of it mother. We hardly ever talked about money. Hardly ever. but everything they know about money, they learn from watching me do money. And I didn't even open my mouth about it. And so the lesson from that is that they learn all the time without you talking about it. They're going to learn from your example of going out and going after the goals that you want.
Exactly.
It's invaluable to them.
Yep. It's like I said, it's not selfish. It might be selfish, but it's okay to be selfish when it comes to that. Like, you've got to take care of yourself.
I feel like we've talked about this a lot. This theme continues to resonate in different podcasts that we've done.
I will share something too I heard today. So I have a client that does acupuncture, and the acupuncturist told her on Friday that this year with the Chinese New Year and everything, I don't know if you believe in that, it's like the year of the woman, or the next 20 years is all about the women. That's all she told me. I don't know anything else about that, so you might have to research that a little bit, but like, it's empowering women, lifting them up, and like, they run the world.
Do we need to?
Yeah, I was like, we need to have her on. I mean, what is it? Is it the year of? Let's look it up.
I don't know.
I don't know what the Chinese New Year is, but it's like the next 20 years is like the 2 decades of women. Like,
well, no wonder I've been feeling a surgence.
Yeah, we just talked about this on the last podcast, that this is Alex's year to like, she feels like the buildup of the last few years is going to culminate in this year. And that's okay. Like, there's just so much to be learned from both, like, you personally and from the people around you, of overcoming our challenges and triumphing and doing good in this world. And
it's okay. It's okay for a woman to be successful.
It really is.
It's okay. Like, yeah, especially in this culture, it's like, no, you do this, you do that. You're told what to do. And it's like, no, it's okay for a woman to have a career and to excel in what they're best at. And like, I learned the last couple of years, like, I love to teach other people. I teach my clients every day, but when I see my students, when I'm teaching courses and it clicks for them, like, that is the, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing moment. Like, I love what I do. And that's shows me right there, it pays me back 100% when I see it just click for my students. And it's like,
right. Like,
what I'm
you
saying makes sense.
Them.
Yes. Yeah. That's my favorite thing. Like, that's my drive and my sense of being, is leaving an impact on somebody else's life and seeing that, because I want to share what I know, and can't take all the credit. I've learned it from all these other amazing women
other people
too.
Shared with you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. I always say, like, these women that mentored me, I'm like, 2 of them I know do not have children. So I think that their brain capacity is so much more broader, and they have more room. Like, their file cabinets are a little less empty, so they can store so much. Because over here, I'm like, what do my children have to do today? And what is this? And, you know, you kind of, things get pushed out of the way to make room for that. And these women that have been mentors to me, I'm just like, I want to walk around in your brain one day. Like, it's amazing what the knowledge you have. And then, of course, my clients will tell me that too. And I'm like, I fake it till I make it. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. No, you're a very good example of it.
Thank you. I've spent a lot of years.
And some lucky kids that you have to have an empowered mother.
Yep. I've got a 14-year-old son and an 11-year-old daughter. So
that's a good thing.
Yep.
One of each. So I did find it.
What's it say?
What is it?
So 2025 is the year of the wood snake.
Okay.
Maybe being close to Snake River is going to bode well for us here. But I know we all have an animal or something.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
So I am like the year of the ox or something. So you've got to go in and figure out your birth year and fill all that out. But it does say 2025 is set to be a year full of intrigue and meaningful transformation. Thanks to the energy of the snake. The snake is smart, cunning, and full of subtle wisdom. It is sensitive yet strong, flexible, but capable of surprising intensity. This sounds like Pilates, right?
Flexible yet strong.
Yeah. Intensity.
Yeah, intensity. I mean, there's a lot there. So just go research it, but we'll get the name of this gal. Maybe we can get her on here.
Yeah, she wants to come on, because I think that would be so interesting.
She's a breast cancer survivor. She's 82 years old. She's a freaking pistol.
Oh, fun.
We all say we want to be like her when we grow up, because she works out. Oh gosh, she works out like sometimes 4 hours a day, depending on the day. She'll walk for an hour.
So I've probably seen her and just don't know her.
Probably. She does Tai Chi usually. She trains with me, and then I train her husband right afterwards. So then she's doing another hour of training on her own after she's amazing. Like, she's awesome.
Okay. Well, I already like her.
I know. I want her on if she can get here.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. Cool. Well, Lisa, thank you
so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate you sharing. That's what this podcast is about, and that's exactly who you are. So you were a perfect guest.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us today on the We Share podcast.
If you've loved what you've heard, please give us a 5-star rating, tell your friends, and share this show.
You can also follow us for recipes, lifestyle and fashion tips, book reviews, and more on WeSharePodcast.com.
Join our Share Squad and sign up for our newsletter there.
We would love to connect with you.
We share on TikTok, Pinterest, Facebook, and Instagram. Give us a follow.
A big goodbye squeeze and sending you all our love from Alex and Julie.
Join us next week on the We Share podcast.